Good afternoon and welcome. We're here for a final series wrap-up and preview for the NHRU, joined by Jimmy, Andy, Gareth and Chris. Mostly they don't need an introduction, but I have taken the liberty to prepare one. So Jimmy Gardner has been covering the rugby for over a decade, from what I can see. He's been a finalist in the Australian Sports Commission Awards and is widely known as the expert when it comes to reporting on NHRU, especially his weekly Maul and All sections. Welcome, Jimmy.
You can do my intros anytime you like.
You're welcome. Andy's been with the NHRU since 2014. He's a qualified Level 2 coach, I found out very recently.
Wow.
Past rugby career includes director and head coach of East's Rugby Colts program, and he's been part of the coaching staff for the Junior Gold program. Andy, welcome.
That'd be Eastwood, not East.
Yeah.
Eastwood, yes, you are correct, of course. Gareth.
We don't like John Murray.
Pronounced Barshik. If
Barshik,
we're correct on the last name there, Bar TV.
I've had it wrong there for 5 years.
Hugely successful local company with an estimated 4 to 5 million viewers by the end of 2017. Many of you might not know he's an actor, a well-established stand-up comedian, proficient on the harmonica, and is actually the star of an Oktoberfest video, national advertisement that went live in 2014.
I was the face of Oktoberfest
campaign.
Thanks, Stephen Crow, Channel Zero.
Last but certainly not least, Chris McPherson, podcaster at Sports Castle, covering local sports including rugby, with the NHRU first grade referee Jared Logan. Jared, also a regular on the paddock for beaches in social fourths, twos, and occasionally making appearances for threes. Well done, gents, welcome. So let's start with a wrap-up of the 2018 season. Controversial start to the year with the collaborative Waratahs dropping to the divisional competition. Talented players like Carl Manu and Dane Sherritt finding homes with other teams, and of course Lake Macquarie struggling for numbers. Jimmy, you've covered the Roos season quite extensively. Do you think it was the right decision for them to continue in Premier?
I think logistically it was the only decision that could have been made in terms of the integrity of the competition, to drop them out halfway through in first and second grade. They couldn't have gone down to divisional rugby and competed down there. They had no competition points. Yeah. The teams they played against would have been disadvantaged to the teams that hadn't played against. So logistically, I think it was just a test to put the asset on them. Let's see if you can get it in shape. If they can, they play next year. If they can't, well then actually you make the tough decision, and I guess we might see an 8-term competition. But that's to be made. They've certainly improved the second half of the season.
Yes, they certainly have.
But they've got a long way to go, to be fair, if they're going to be pushing where they were 2 and 3 years ago. So interesting times ahead. For
sure. Gareth, you've been obviously filming occasionally their games. I think one, maybe two you've covered this year.
2.
What was it like when you were out there? What was the feel like?
It's terrible, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, you got a feel for them. They train out at Walters Park. They live out there, and Matt Barley, love him. he said to me, I don't know why you're doing this game, and it's unfortunate. They do put in a good, and their coach Gareth, he's got a good sort of long-term plan to rebuild the club. So I'm glad they have stayed in there. I think maybe merging with one of the other lakeside clubs might be the move forward for them. Yeah.
All right. And obviously NHRU has identified that there's some need for change, hence the community engagement and strategy sessions that are being hosted with Bill Nelson. The point system is a reoccurring issue that keeps coming up. Do you think it needs to change?
The point system has been a raised issue for 5 seasons or 4 or 5 seasons. It was brought in the year I arrived. They'd adopted it the season before. Look, I think the point system's starting to gain a bit of traction. So I think if you look at Hamilton, who've won 3 on the trot grand finals, their side, if you go back 4 or 5 years, was a mainly imported side. Yep. I think now for clubs to retain at the top of the table, they have to take a 3 and 4 year strategy on developing players and importing. You just can't go and buy a side tomorrow. Yeah. So I think it's
local juniors at Hamilton though. Come on.
Honestly, their tiny hawks in the program they're throwing around out there is fantastic. It's phenomenal.
Going well in Fiji as well.
No, look, in terms of imports, Bubba Coleman is very good at.
He's astute.
He's very that's the right word.
What it's done is they're importing smarter. And
correct.
I think the whole purpose of the point system was to equalise the competition.
Yep.
And if you look at the actual, has it delivered that outcome? No. You've still got virtually the same teams finishing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, credit, it was at the start of the year. The competition was a lot closer.
Yeah, I think
Bubba.
I'll agree with you on that.
Got the knives out and got in there, and now they're flying like a hawk should.
Well, look, I think if you parallels to Sydney, it took the Shute Shield 10 to 12 years to get uni back towards the
losing.
No, more competitive. You can't say losing. We're about they're coming into 5 years in next season. I think it is starting to bite, but the clubs have certain views. They don't like it. They'd rather open slather.
Yeah.
Potentially the worries about open slather on PPS is the strong get stronger, the weak get weaker.
Yep.
But also potentially the inter-club poaching.
Well, it ruined Waratah, didn't it? Let's be honest.
No,
it's one of the main reasons Waratah.
Oh yeah, Waratah PPS.
Yeah,
I think it's lack
100%.
of juniors, and that they only worried about first grade.
That's right, because they kept importing the players. That's why the PPS.
Well, I must say Waratahs are going swimmingly this year. Very fresh, new appeal over
that's
there.
a new approach, and
Collaborative
that's what it
Waratahs.
needed. A new approach, which is good.
It certainly did.
I hear with all jokes aside, from what I hear.
I'm not joking.
Well, no, well, you always joke. The Waratahs. But, okay, yes, they're down division, but they got their women's side, they got their social foresight introduced, and I hear from a club perspective a lot more involvement from a lot more people doing stuff down there, and they're having a great time. That's what I hear.
Yes.
Go back a couple of years in the Waratahs, I never used to hear it was a fun place to be part of, so I'm seeing that.
No, it's good. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. It's working. PPS.
It is working.
You don't want a PPS, do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah. So well,
I think there should be a more a marquee system. Open slather for the front row.
Yeah.
A couple of marquee backs, and
yeah.
There we go.
How many marquee players?
2.
And what's the
five maximum.
And
5
definition of a marquee player?
Someone that's come from outside the district.
It's essentially a PPS, isn't it?
But no points. It's too hard to work out.
Well, it's the same thing.
Well, it's only 3.
It's just because forwards can't count. Or...
Right, to keep it
Probably,
moving,
yeah.
to keep it moving, gents. Chris, from your perspective as a player and a commentator of the sport, do you think the structure is working, especially with the introduction of the wonderful beast that is social forwards?
Well, I think Social Force has been a great boost in terms of bringing back a lot of players who probably wouldn't have played. I know certainly at Beaches this year we've had some issues around numbers in third grade, and the fact those fourth graders are there has meant that they've come and topped up. So it's kept a lot of people involved in the competition.
Yep.
Whether or not the intent of it is exactly what it's meant to be for all 6 of the clubs involved is another question. But
There's
plenty of controversy there.
It's Ben Emmett's World Cup.
Yeah, exactly right.
Social Force.
Yeah. Ben's recruiting. Luckily, there's no point system there. I
Well,
reckon.
actually, I hope Ben Emmett's watching this, because there's rumours around him running into Sam Berry last weekend. Benny says he just twisted his ankle. Everyone else at the ground says Sam Berry absolutely poleaxed him. So it's 2 different stories. What is it, Ben?
Yeah, well, I guess, we'll have to get Bar TV out there covering so we get some footage, mate.
I was extremely actually surprised to see Sam Berry. He was a first grader back in my uni days, playing in social fours. He's still hitting it up, running it up, and he's actually just started his young child out at the Hawks as well to get him running around.
That.
Yeah.
Is that no juniors at uni?
No juniors at uni.
So what will happen to the young boy when he's 7
I
or 18?
have
Is
no
he
doubt he will
Well,
become a
obviously go to
student.
university.
Yeah.
Preferably away from his father, and he'll start.
Depends if they have a holiday in Fiji. But we might get him back there.
Okay, right, moving right along. Bar TV has been instrumental in creating more hype, awareness and exposure for the sport, especially in the... Gareth, you're a regular on the sideline. What would you say about the quality of competition and quality of entertainment on the field this year?
I think it's definitely... it's probably not as strong as it has been. I think there's not as many... I guess the bigger name players, and it's probably got a lot quicker, I think, and probably not as tough as what it was, I guess. And Jimmy, you've probably been there a lot longer than me, and you've seen it. I wouldn't say deteriorate, but the game has actually changed.
Well, a lot of that's to do with the refereeing and the rules. I'm not blaming the referees. I'm blaming
Let's blame
the rules.
the referees.
The rules particularly this year, and what
Jared
warrants a
Logan,
sin bin, what doesn't warrant a sin bin, where you can tackle a player. Now, all that has changed. But from what, if you want to anecdote of when NHU was at its strongest, no doubts it was 2001, 2002, 2000, just after the wildfires folded. Of course, you had all those players come back.
Yep.
I think at one point, the Wanderers side that won in 2001 had 7 country players in the one team. And they were playing Eastern District sides that were very good at that point. You had Maitland, who had Christian Taylor and Darren Dimmick and those sort of guys coming back. So I think that golden period of 5 years still stands out for mine. But in terms of the last 5 or so years, essentially the last couple of years in particular, the top 5 have equalled out. other than the juggernaut that is Scotty Coleman. But where we're seeing the drain has been the bottom couple, and that's obviously the concern.
Yeah, you mentioned the cards. That's one thing I will say that has been 100%
too many yellows. You're saying
too many yellows all year. It's just ridiculous. You know,
I copped
it's
one of
local
my first
footy.
game. I will say I wasn't impressed.
What did you do?
Yeah.
I was chatting too much to the referee. I thought we were friends.
Answering back.
Not quite as good friends as I was just giving some helpful tips,
Someone who's,
you know?
someone who's
those,
copped a fair amount of yellow and red cards in my time playing.
Record
But I just
holder?
think, I don't think I'd last two. Yeah, I did get 5 seconds.
You don't know what constitutes a good tackle anymore.
Yeah, that's
what
right.
used to constitute
That's
a good tackle
ridiculous.
Yeah.
nowadays is yellow card, potentially red card.
I know from the pod and talking to Jared, the last 3 games he's had 5 in each of those games. So for 5 cards to be like that could be a
Can you
massive.
steal his
influence on
cards?
that.
Can you take
Well,
his cards
I
off
did
him?
actually say to him that this week maybe like he's complaining that he's had so many, and I said, well, maybe just don't take the
Don't do
cards.
it.
Yeah, like, leave it in your pocket.
As
Well, they always
Jared
forget the comms.
revealed, do they use yellow cards to stamp their authority in a game early, or does he reveal that they're under instruction to?
From my understanding, it's just literally there's supposed black and white guidelines around what they have to implement, and they don't have it. You know, from where back in the day it was an interpretation more so, or you know, reading the game. It's now if this happens, you must give a yellow card. If this happens, you must give a penalty try. If this happens, you must give a red card.
Yeah.
And it's supposedly non-negotiable. So it really takes away from them, you know, and their intuition around a game. I think, and I think that's something that we're seeing as the game goes on. And yeah, as you say, it's taken away from the physicality and knowing what is, you know, a good tackle and.
But I wouldn't say that's necessarily consistent. So obviously as a player, we have referees, and in the women's especially, we have referees that are coming up from juniors. And that's not always a bad thing, and I know it's a very tough gig to be a referee, but we have a lot of referees who ref on occasionally intent. Oh, I don't think they meant to punch, or I don't think they meant to slide up on that tackle, or whatever it is. So instead of refereeing on the actual actions, they're refereeing on what they thought the person meant to do, which can cause a lot of controversy then, because you don't understand how to play within the parameters, especially as a flanker and a token pest. If I don't understand black and white, it's an entertaining game.
I think that comes down to, from having played lower grades, there's a huge disparity in the referee you might get one week. Like we had, his name escaped, Mark Eads, a couple of weeks ago when we played Merriweather the second side in third grade, and then we had 2 weeks ago we had Rob Delbo in second grade, but then we had another referee a couple of weeks before that who was an older gentleman, clearly wasn't keeping up with the game, and so it really changes the experience. I think at first grade they tend to have the same guys, and they have a lot more
older
scrutiny
than Easy.
Well, he looked older than Easy, but you know, I think Easy's had some work done. I haven't seen him for a few years. So.
I hope he doesn't referee in the final.
I might get my first yellow card after the kickoff.
Oh, wonderful.
He's a legend, Mark Eads.
Gareth, we're talking about Bar TV, and you and I 4 years ago went to doing the whole season together. What has been in the last 4 years single biggest circulation moment or highlight that you guys have done?
Are you serious? You
Well,
know what it is.
Is it the one you leaked?
Question.
Is it the one you leaked
It's the referee punch
that you leaked?
Cool.
that I leaked. That I leaked. I'll take the fall for that. That's fine.
We should have got a number of hits on the Herald website. I can vouch for that.
Yeah, got the viewership up on all sort of forms of media. That one.
To be fair, it was Nick Gall, I believe.
It was Nick
He was
Gall,
an
and he's
absolute bloody champion.
He's a
He
very
just
good
got right
referee.
back up.
I think
He's a very good
I think
referee.
he's probably second best referee in the comp
Got a lot
And
of
you're-
time.
after Rob Delbo.
I was going to say,
but formerly Jared's still sitting
one.
number one, right? And he has been.
that's what he tells people.
I'm pretty sure the
Yeah, I
ratings.
think in the last
My
ratings they had
understanding
come out, he
follows,
was
yeah.
sitting at number one, but I believe it's probably
Is he under pressure?
because
Is he under pressure?
well, he's not getting any younger, and that knee still hasn't recovered from last year. I'm
is
hearing,
that because
so-
Drew Tonks hasn't been here all year? Is that why?
Well, he's
I
been
don't know how it works.
he's been
Oh,
refereeing down in
Drew,
Sydney.
Drew was here last week. He had,
No,
Yeah, he has been
The
here.
thing that frustrates me about that, he referees the game totally different in Sydney compared to what it's refereed
does,
up here. I
that's
know
right.
the level
Oh,
of
yeah.
player is different,
I agree.
which obviously makes it part.
But
And you got
I mean,
reasons
I know
for it?
refereeing's
What's
kind
that?
of a hobby. Sorry, refereeing's
No, I just
kind
want
of a hobby.
Jimmy and I spoke about this the other day. The take Drew refereeing down in the Shute Shield versus Newcastle. And there is a difference in how he referees.
But the game
yeah.
down there, it's the attacking team has the advantage. They
Yep.
go off their feet all the time.
That's
They
right.
communicate better. There seems to be a greater leniency for the nitbit laws of the game, for want of a better word. It just seems to flow. Whereas
I mean, it's the
it's
same
an
as if you
influence,
play
but
ref
it's
footy.
different
It's a
than you-
different standard, isn't it? You know, it's probably the same with the referee. I don't know. I've never wanted to be one, to be honest.
Just wanted to abuse them.
After playing with people like myself, I probably wouldn't want to be one either. I mean, I don't think I'm too rude or anything, but I definitely question what is correct and what is incorrect.
You obviously are. You're at Yellow Card on the weekend.
No, it wasn't on the weekend. It was right at the start. I cleaned up my accents that first week.
Yeah.
On the
Cleaned
other
up.
side, the referees, our association is probably the best run referees association in Australia.
I reckon they got more juniors coming through than
Yeah.
any other.
Oh, they
Yeah.
And they've got
I'm not
programs,
taking away from
sponsors and things like that. And the way they grade and
No,
coach,
definitely. They do a great job. No one.
Yeah.
I don't wish it upon anyone.
Yeah.
It's a thankless task. It is.
It is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. You know you're going to walk off that field with at least 15 unhappy people.
Well, you got
and some of them
idiots
with
like
30.
me.
Yes.
That are bagging them out when I shouldn't be.
Right, slight change of pace,
You're not
gents.
going to change, are you?
Probably not. Let's hope not. Off of the back of the Aussie Sevens success, the introduction of the Super W, the Wallaroos playing a Bledisloe Test Cup this weekend. The international Fijian side visiting Newcastle, and now a World Cup bid in Newcastle for 2021. Jimmy, how do you see the development of the women's game locally?
Oh, certainly, particularly in that sevens arena is where it's really exploded. I guess that follows on from the Olympics and the high profile that the sevens national team has. The women's team 15 side has stagnated. If you look at it 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I think there were 6 teams. They were dominating
couple
country.
more, yeah.
They're still dominating country at the moment, but it just seemed a bit. I don't know why that is. I think maybe there has been a shift towards 7, particularly with the younger girls, and now with the fifth. I know, speaking to Jerry Mason last week on the fantastic news about Newcastle potentially hosting the World Cup. He said there's programs for 13s, 15s, 17s in the wings. They start at 7s, turns to 10s next winter, hopefully,
Yeah.
and from there, obviously, they can flow into the senior. So at
Yes.
least there's a pathway now,
Yeah, there's a plan.
whereas previously there hasn't. And to be fair, the two organisations were polars apart.
Yeah.
The women ran their own thing. Even when I was at Wanderers, the women did their own thing.
Yeah.
The men did their own thing. They rarely came together other than the presentation.
Sounds like a barbecue.
Sounds like a U6 disco.
Well,
Yeah,
touch
first
wood,
date,
Andy's letting us right on in there, and we're working on amalgamating the two unions, which will hopefully help with some organisational things, and also the ARU reducing the age gap that girls can't play. So previously, I think it was 12 they had to stop, and they couldn't start again until they were 16 if there was an opportunity. And now with the clearance, I think they can play up until 15
Yep.
in the competition. With the boys, and so I think personally that's helped as well. But Jerry Mason. And we don't need to mention the Hawks again, but Jerry Mason and some of the people that are involved in Hunter Women's.
Will Scully does an enormous
Enormous
job.
amount.
I mean,
Style you can't
they're good guys
mess
to
with.
be running the game locally from a rep perspective. They're quite helpful and quite knowledgeable as well. So
Yes, and they answer the phone when you call for press conferences and interviews, I assume.
That's right.
They return phone calls, which is a heads up on some.
I know I don't.
Some clubs.
Fantastic. So the leaderboard this year has been extremely interesting, with the pole position changing hands almost on a weekly basis at times. Greens were looking promising at the start of the season. The Bay had a turn right up top, and now Hamilton have stamped their minor premiership. Any surprises for you, Andy?
No surprises from me.
The Bay? It's got to be a bit of a surprise, isn't it?
Oh, maybe the Bay and Southern Beaches was maybe swapped in my mind probably early on. Jimmy was just chatting about his top 5 that he put down at the beginning of the season, and I think he's the closest he's ever got in the last 5 or 6 years. But I think, are you looking for a grand final tip? Who's going to?
What are you throwing out there? I mean, more from the season past. We will go in a grand final in a minute, but
No, there's no surprise. Maybe I thought Southern Beaches and Nelson Bay might be maybe switched in out of the 5, but Nelson Bay have done a great job this year. They continue that joint venture in P3s with Madawi.
How good is it, the merged venture?
What have you heard?
I think it's awesome. No, I think
Okay, you're
more
serious.
clubs should
Sometimes I
look
don't know
at
whether
it.
you're serious or
More
joking
clubs should look at it.
or sarcastic. And I would say too, again, that the blended system, which Barbara Coleman's got very good at, mixture of your own juniors and recruit smartly under the PPS rules.
Works.
So I think Nelson Bay have done that this year. I think a lot of people may have thought the Nelson Bay wheels may have fallen off over the long season, but it hasn't. And it's going to be good fun with them in the finals. So well done to them. And Southern Beach has probably done it a bit tougher than I thought they would this year. I think the other one that's again learned how to bring some recruits in at the right time in the right positions, Maitland. I think Maitland have finally started to add to their depth and their quality with a bit of recruiting within the PPS guidelines. I'd say in previous seasons, Maitland are probably more, we're black and we do it in-house. I think they've identified some areas they could have bolstered up the players, and they've done that.
plus they have that fantastic turf out there, which just Must be helping. They spent a lot of money on that turf. It
you
was very
serious?
green
Have
at the
you
start of
seen
the year. It was very green at the start of the year.
They are surrounded by turf farms. How can they not possibly have good turf?
It's so crazy.
Sponsorship, hello.
To their credit, it is when it's even more luscious and they haven't had a drought out there, the field and the facilities are quite nice. So before we move on to forward-looking and some performances in the Anderson Medal contendees, I guess, Chris, can you give us a bit of a wrap-up on seconds, thirds and div?
I can give you a rough one.
Yep.
Obviously, it's looking very similar to the upper grades in terms of the powerhouses are there in the finals and about. So, you know, your usual suspects of Wanderers, Merewether and Hamilton. I think they hold pretty close to the top three in the two lower grades. With a few other sides sort of making up the numbers, it does seem that their depth is fairly strong this year, and I'd be fairly surprised if the winner of those lower grades came outside of those three clubs. In terms of divisional, your guys, the Collaborative Waratahs, I think they're about 20 points clear.
Yes.
With it, and they might have had the bye this weekend. I'm not too sure.
Cessna forfeited, unfortunately.
Forfeit. There we go. There's a couple of games obviously crucial in the lower grades this week. I know Southern Beaches need a win up against Merewether this week to keep their finals hopes alive.
To keep them in the 5, right?
Yeah, so they're sitting in 5th at the moment. But I believe the side below them's
Maitland, isn't it?
Yeah, Maitland. So they'll be
And
expecting a win this weekend. So Beach is only 4 points clear, I think. So a bonus point win for Maitland would see them leapfrog them.
Yeah.
The divisional, as I said, the
And
Waratahs.
being inside the Southern Beaches camp, what's the side look like?
Adrian Delore, Bartolomeo.
Yeah.
Have
we managed the roster well?
It's a standard second grade side.
So we haven't managed the roster well.
You can take that up with Marshall Homopo and VAR and those guys. So I certainly think it's a pretty similar looking side to what they've gone in with the last few weeks. I don't think they've gone with that option of trying to stack the side, because it wouldn't help them next week anyway, because none of them would qualify. So they are obviously short on numbers though, because I may have to play off the bench. So that's definitely light on. As for the second division, as I said, Waratah, they're looking very strong, and then I think you've got East in behind them. They're looking like one of the major contenders.
Andy, can you speak to Colts at all?
I can speak to Colts. The problems with the Colts comp?
No, just how they're sitting, coming into finals.
Is there any left? Is there another music festival? What's going on?
Look, the transition year faces some dilemmas coming from juniors through to seniors. There's not enough sides in Colts for our liking. There's no easy fixed answer. Is it an age group change?
An attitude change.
Really?
Whose attitude though?
Yeah.
The Colts, the young kids, the millennials.
What do you think they should be doing? What should they be doing?
Hey, can't flip up a whole generation there.
What should they be doing?
Yeah.
Post-game music.
Getting to
festival,
football training and playing football on the weekend like we used to in the old days.
Back in my day.
Back in my day. Different. It's different these days. No, Colts. It's a 2-week final series, 1v4, 2v3 shootout.
Yeah.
Hamilton leading by 20 points.
Yeah, Hamilton leading. But you never know. I think 2 years ago when we had a shootout, the second Merewether Carlton side came from 4 to win it.
Coached by Tim Partridge.
Yeah, Tim Partridge. It'll be a great final series. The great thing about that type of shootout final series is it does mean a team that can get up on the day and play out of its skin can get up and win, which is a great thing.
Yep.
I think if you go to Premier Rugby final series with the length it is, I think that emotional sort of win from nowhere gets harder and harder because you just got too many weeks to
that's right.
keep winning. So
it's hard to win from 5th in Premier grade.
So I think Colts it'll be actually a great final series to watch, and then from the NHLU's perspective, we'll work with clubs to work out how to expand that Colts competition. And we tried a bit of a joint venture with Central Coast during the year, but it wasn't probably as successful as we thought. So.
Bigger
No train from Carry On.
Well, we would travel. They wouldn't travel back. Central Coast, you wouldn't travel back.
Okay, some extremely solid performances from leading Anderson Medal contendee Carl Manu, top point scorer Sam Bright, and of course Beach's Adrian Delore. Gareth, who's been a standout for you this season?
I know he came in late, but Travis Brook, towards the latter part of the season, he's been outstanding. Same with the Merewether number 8, Smiler. He's been sort of outstanding for them. Jay Strawn as well, and the few you mentioned as well. So certainly can all win it. I think.
Yep. Andy?
Oh, look, in terms of back, Strawdy's my favourite back in the comp. The amount of breaks he makes or buster first tackles, outstanding player. Travis is a powerhouse player. He's been in the rep side ever since he came to the competition. Great, it's a great import for the Blacks, and I know when he's on the park, they're a lot better side than when he's not.
There's also the young kid from Singleton, the halfback Harris. I think he picks up a few points most times he plays as well. So he could be a little smoky. And he's a very good player.
In the Anderson medal. Yeah.
I'd like to be sure winning the lotto with Carl Manu would go back to back.
Really?
He was comfortably leading it after
he had a
about
slow
9
start
rounds,
to the season.
but he was leading after about 9 rounds.
Yeah.
And most grounds I've been at, whenever they've won, he's picked up points.
True.
Yeah, but there is this theory that the guy that wins the Anderson medal doesn't come from the top 5 sides, and if you track that back, so I think Southern Beaches, Marlon, the number 8, he's quite high up. I think Travis is high up. I think Dane Sherratt's high up.
He's had a few weeks off though, hasn't he? Done,
with his broken nose. Is that a weak spot for the finals? That nose?
It's just weak to miss a
Can't
few
you play
weeks.
after a broken nose?
You can, yeah.
He's back.
I did.
What?
Yeah, he's back.
Oh, did you?
Just getting
I
one of
did.
those Michael
And he
Jackson
certainly
faces.
His might have
had
been
a-
worse.
He certainly had a point to prove last week when he came off the bench.
Yeah, he did.
He was very good.
He was
Straightened
very good
them up,
last week. Very good.
Found space.
Yeah, he was definitely the reason why they sort of went out to that lead
And
so early. in the second
Ali from Hamilton's high up there too. I think what's his name?
Chris.
Chris Ali.
Yeah. Formerly Chris Pucey.
Quick review of the top 5 on the leaderboard. As we come into finals, Hawks are sitting pretty on 65, Maitland's in second on 57, closely followed by Carlton, the Bay and Two Blues. Chris, you made some predictions a fortnight ago. I don't know if you remember, but how do you see the finals playing out?
I'll be honest, I don't remember. But yeah, I certainly think obviously the games for week 1 are set now. And yeah, Hamilton's probably the side to catch. As everyone can see, they've come home with a wet sail since the change of coaches. So yeah, they'll be the team to beat, I think, from here.
Jimmy?
It's whoever's going to beat Hamilton, they're going to have to play at their best. I think Maitland are probably the best equipped in terms of the set piece. Certainly the line out. We mentioned Travis Brook, how strong he is in the air. Merrily Carlton have had a couple of big injuries in the last couple of weeks to Wendell. Will Hermes is out. I've also a couple of other front rowers throughout the year, and their issue's always been around the line out and the set piece. I think with Billy Coffey and Jay Strawn, they've got points in them, but whether or not they can get some front foot ball, it's just too hard for Wanderers and Nelson Bay. I think the last team to come from outside the top
Maitland.
4 may have been Maitland all the way, and then we had
beat us
Yes.
semi.
they beat by Hamilton 39-35 over here at number 1 Sports Ground after Hamilton led, I think, 29-0, something ridiculous. So it's just too hard to be up for that many weeks against the quality of teams that you've got. So for mine, it's Hamilton, Maitland. You'd have to go the Hawkesbury game experience that Maitland haven't been there a long time, but they will bring the entire population of Maitland will come down for that one. So that NHAU would certainly appreciate that grand final. Just too early for Wanderers. Too many changes from last year. Too tough.
Yeah, I don't think Wanderers. I was surprised Wanderers made the top 5. To be honest, I said that Southern Beaches had pip them to it this year, but I was totally wrong with that one. So I'm probably going to be wrong with this one too, because I see it as a Maitland Nelson Bay grand final.
Ooh, wouldn't that be interesting?
Pretty awesome.
Controversy.
Yeah, it is
That would be
controversial.
quite
I just think Hamilton have gone 1 year too many, maybe.
The way you mentioned, we haven't spoken about Nelson Bay, so
Yeah.
that's normally they are under the radar. They've
They
certainly
are.
got defensive structures. The way they shut down Wanderers 3 weeks ago was very impressive. They've got a scrum now. Again, it's just how they handle those big moments in pressure games.
If Nathan Oliver plays, I know he's got the bad knees, but he is the best breakaway in the comp by a standout, by that much.
Better than Billy Freeman?
Better than Billy Freeman.
Don't say that to Mick Gill.
Why is he so far ahead?
I'll take the example when we did the Wanderers game there at Madowie. I think he played 25 minutes all up because he got a yellow card and a sin bin, and a red
yellow.
card, double
yellow.
yellow.
Yeah.
And he had 8 turnovers in that time. Every time he's on the ball.
So
he
on ball,
turns-
you mean on baller?
On ball,
yeah, best on ball.
They need him in the side to go through because if they don't, then they haven't got that on baller.
Yeah.
And he's everywhere. He runs the ball. He creates stuff as well. But I think he's probably
He wasn't mentioned as is he an NSM medal contender?
I don't know. I think he's one of those players that's too good. He goes too under the radar.
And that red card would have counted him out anyway.
course, yeah.
So that double yellow may have hurt on the day. Yes.
But yeah, I think Maitland certainly I think they're the team to beat.
Okay.
You heard it here first. Maitland Bay Grand Final. That'll be an interesting one.
You think, Joel?
I'm still sticking with Hamilton. I think Maitland aside probably with their recruits that could mix it with them. Obviously, we talked about it earlier. They've recruited really well. you know, the likes of Willie Stowe, who's obviously out this weekend, and then Carl Marner in the back line's really giving them some direction. So the front row, and then Carl in the back line's added some punch to them, I think. So
You're missing, Chris Logan as well scored 4 tries against Merriweather. He's
in hot
he's
form.
thriving off
He's
Carl
been in
Marner.
hot form.
You haven't
yeah.
mentioned Josh McCormack. You haven't
Yeah.
mentioned Turia Nui. Haven't mentioned
So-
Johnny Borrelli. Haven't mentioned James
They've got a
Johnson.
very good side. They're like
Davidson.
Hamilton 5 years ago, you know.
Grand final will be Hamilton Maitland.
You think?
It will be Hamilton Maitland,
Hamilton Bay.
and I don't think
Taking the trophy.
I don't
back
think
to
it's
Groper,
I think it's too long for Hamilton. I think Bubba Coleman and the senior players there, they know how to get up for a
Kira
finals
Sami's
games.
come in, freshen them up. Dane Sherritt's
Yeah.
freshened them up.
Yeah.
They've still got the best scrum in the competition.
Oh,
And-
Whoever
and-
beats
yeah.
them will have to be at their absolute
Yeah.
best.
But
And they have to be at their worst.
No, not their worst.
no. To beat Hamilton on a grand final day, you have to pay 10 out of 10.
I'm saying they won't make the grand final.
But I think you're wrong.
you're
I'm saying-
backing them to lose 2 finals.
Oh, I am.
For revenue purposes, I need the Merriweather Carlton to go deep in the finals, and I need Maitland to be in the grand final.
Well, you'll get Merriweather lower grade, so they'll stay there till end of 2nd grade. And
Yeah, before that you can drink. that open
Oh,
What,
good.
actually, let's clarify that. What time does the bar open on finals days?
Yeah,
Andy?
the main thing.
12 p.m. 12.
opens.
Yeah, the bar opens.
And of course, you can come across the road to the Commonwealth Hotel
It is a
for,
beautiful
for an
venue.
early opener.
So, Gareth, you've commentated quite a few women's games now. The women's grand final is September 1st. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, certainly am looking forward to it and wondering if the Waratahs can keep their undefeated season intact, probably against Merriweather Carlton, I'd say.
Impressive season.
At this stage, I think I'm not sure. It could be Merriweather Carlton or Wanderers. Wanderers have beaten Carlton quite convincingly in their games against them. So this is good for Wanderers. I think they've had a few seasons where they had lots of player turnover and a few players retire and stuff, and they were getting beaten 30 and 40-0.
Who would you rather play?
That's
if you make it.
If we make it, let's touch wood here. I would rather play Wanderers, only because I think there's quite a fierce rivalry between Waratahs and Greens, and at Wanderers it's, I wouldn't say more about the footy, but much more focus on the game than the emotions outside of it. So, and I think Wanderers also, they test our game plan a bit more. They're a bit more mobile than the Greens, and they get around the park. So we've been quite good this year at splitting teams by going side to side and then straight through the middle or around them. And yeah, Wanderers do their best at defending that. So
Sweet.
yeah,
There we go.
interesting game. Get along. Come September, men's 15 grand final. Jimmy, we've just covered off this, but which player do you think is going to be leading from the front in the grand final, and why?
Oh, geez, that's a difficult one. Well, in the past, the John Hipwell medal has normally been a breakaway / 5'8" affair. But when it comes to grand finals, there's no better grand final player than Steve Lamont, the Hamilton captain. He
Very
finds a
true.
way to get the job done. I think he's won the Hipwell medal twice. I think Delamonte, the centre mate, won it last year. Prior to that, it's basically it's been his award since it's been inducted. So he gets them up. If they need a hit, he does it. If they need a steal, he does it. He's everywhere. In terms of their backs, they're going to need Dane Sherritt, obviously.
Yeah.
Between those two, I think is where your certainly your game breaker will be.
Yeah, Andy?
Assuming Maitland Hamilton grand final, I back up the Steve Lamont, just a legend of Newcastle rugby, and on grand final day he knows how to produce. From the Maitland side, I would have thought Brooke will have a big game. I would also think Manu would have a big game.
Yeah.
So I'd be watching out for those two on the black side. Steve Lamont for Hamilton. Dane Sherratt, probably as well for Hamilton, but I
It's
think
14 points a game, you know.
but I think the Maitland Blacks will run a lot of traffic.
But that's his underrated defender. He
Oh,
last weekend he
Not saying he's a
absolutely
bad, not saying,
whacked a few
not saying he's
blokes.
a bad defender. I just think that they will, the Blacks will test him out in ways he hasn't been tested yet. Well, that's what I'd do if I was coaching.
Well, I'm up in the air on who's going to make the grand final, so I'll go through the
As
top
we've heard.
5.
All 15.
I'll go
Bar
through
Wanderers.
the top 4. Yeah. Wanderers have got no chance, so I'll just go top 4.
To be fair, he has been doing some brilliant work out there. I've touched base with him.
No,
a few times this
he's
year.
doing.
It's
I love
rebuild.
Young. He's a good bloke.
Rebuild. He is a
I'm
great
not
bloke.
saying, but I just don't think they've got the cattle this year. You know, I just don't think they've got. They just
need-
haven't got that one big player. Ben Ham played a full season, maybe they've got a chance.
They need to get Tim Marsh in space. He's
Yeah.
scored 5 tries in the last 2
People
games.
know his
outside
game
centre.
now, though.
But if they're not doing it there, that's when you need Blair Rush and Big Stephen Nelly in front to get some offloads, get
Yeah.
some second phase play going.
Yeah, I just don't think they're there this
Otherwise,
year, so I'll go through
they
the
struggle
top
for
4,
Yep.
and I'll throw in a Wanderers best player too, just for laughs. So yeah, Steve Lamont, Hamilton, Maitland, Brooke, Merriweather, Jay Strawn,
Strawny, yeah.
Nelson Bay, Chad
Pumps
Northcott.
Nathan Oliver's
Yeah, no, but he never
bigger
gets
than
the
a
points.
truck.
He never gets the points, so I'm going to say Chad Northcott. Wanderers, I will say Simmons. There we go.
All good players, all
Yeah.
very good players.
Chris?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to the 10s, so I think you're going to be looking at either Sherrod or Manu as your keys for the grand final, depending on who can get this title across the line.
Yeah. All right, so to wrap up and finish off, grand final tips. You only get one, you can't back 4. Who are you tipping to win the grand final and by how much?
Hamilton by 12 plus.
Maitland by 11 plus.
Maitland by 3.
Ooh,
Hamilton by 5.
tight. All right, so no Bay
Maitland
there
beat
in the
the Bay.
top.
Maitland beat the Bay by 3. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, gents, well, thank you for joining me and taking the time this afternoon to talk about the game that we all love. Massive thank you to the Commonwealth Hotel, Stu, for having us. Beautiful venue. And don't miss out on all of the finals action kicking off August 25 down at number 2 Oval, if I am correct. Bar opens at 12 o'clock. Thanks, gents.
3 drinks at the Commonwealth. Thanks for that.